I read your profile. I saw English, French, Italy, and that's it?
No, Spanish, French, English, obviously, Italian and Japanese.
Wow.
Although Japanese, don't test me on it, because Japanese, I'm only just studying it again. I used to be able to speak it really well, but now I can't speak very well.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, how did you manage to speak these? I mean, all of them is also difficult and really important language.
So English, obviously, I went to school in England, so I just had to know English. Spanish, because my mother is Spanish, so I would speak in Spanish with her. Italian, because it's so close to Spanish. It's so similar. And then Japanese was because when I spoke to my parents, they said, you know, you kind of have to be able to speak more than just European languages. So they said, choose Chinese. And I was like, I don't want to learn Chinese. And they were like, choose Russian. I was like, I don't want to learn Russian. And then one day I was on way back, so before Netflix and YouTube, I was on the internet and I saw an advertisement for a Japanese program. And I was like, I want to watch this. And they were speaking Japanese. And I was like, boom, I'm going to learn Japanese. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I want to have your experience because I'm also learning English. And what makes it easy to learn it? Specifically, what things you do the most? Is it right to say?
Yeah, what things do you do the most?
Yes, in terms of learning it.
So to learn a new language, the biggest, most important thing is repetition. So repeating the action. So speaking every day, listening, reading, writing. So for example, with Japanese, because it's got a different alphabet. So the alphabet is not the same as the Roman alphabet. So for me, it was copying down the symbols every day. Once a day, I would spend 5-10 minutes just writing. And then I would listen for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Then I would try to speak for 5 to 10 minutes. And then just this repetition, just continuously repeating. Naturally, your brain, what we have is, so, you know, for example, we have muscle memory. So our muscles, if we do exercise and, you know, we try to grow our muscles and then we lose them, your muscles have a memory. So they remember and then they grow quicker. It's the same with our brain and learning a language. So you practice every day, just repeat. And the first 2 weeks are going to be like, oh, this sucks. I hate this. Like, I'm not learning anything. And then after the second week, slowly, you'll start to make sense. You'll start to be like, oh, I understand that. Or, that makes sense. And then it keeps going.
Wow, yes, that's all. So, Japanese, is it, have you ever traveled to Japan?
I lived in Japan for 6 to 7 months. Yeah, 6 months, I think. I lived there. So I was teaching English in a Japanese school.
Okay. If how can I say that? When you moved to Japan, in that time, are you able to speak Japanese, or did you learn in there?
I could speak the basics Japanese. Like, I could ask, like, how much is this? What is this? where is the library? Where is the bus stop? I could ask all the basic questions. But then as I was living there, it was at the supermarket where I would learn so much. Like, nobody at school ever taught me the word for toothpaste in Japanese, because why would they? Why would they be at school and be like, this is the word for toothpaste? So I remember I was walking around a 7-Eleven, which is one of the supermarkets in Japan. And I was like, I can't find the toothpaste. So I was like, how do I ask, where is the toothpaste? So it does take a lot of practice. So I went up to the lady and I was like, like, she was like, what? But eventually we got there. So it does, how would I say? It was difficult because I only knew the basics. I didn't know more advanced things. And like, I knew how to say like, I like sushi, which is great. But when you're at a restaurant and you need to order sushi, saying I like sushi doesn't help. So I certainly learned a lot while I was there.
Okay. Yes, because I asked that. So you're so lucky that you traveled. So now you're living in France. So you speak French and you move to Japan and learn Japanese. Because I don't know. In my opinion, is it wrong or right? You please share your experience. Is that is it the only way that learn language quickly to move the country that speak that particular language? Like you move to Japan, Japan, and learn Japanese. Is it a quicker way to learn a language or no? Is it we can learn it or in everywhere?
Yes and no. So the thing with living somewhere and learning things is you always, no matter where you live, to learn a language, it's like learning science. You have to always do your part at home. So for example, imagine you move to France, but all of your friends, imagine you were English, or me. Imagine I moved to France, but all of my friends were English. And so all we would ever do is talk in English. That makes no sense because I would be living in France, but my main language would be English. Whereas what I did was, and this is what you need to do to learn a language by living in a different country, is really immerse yourself. So meet the people, meet the locals, you know, go to the supermarket every day, go to the bakery every day. And I think as well it helps when you're living in the country because everything is written in that language, you know? So, for example, when I moved to France, the supermarket, I think my first trip to the supermarket, I spent about 3 hours just walking because I couldn't find anything because I could not read the signs. And then my second time, I was like, viande means meat. So if I need the meat, I go to viande. And so then you slowly start to pick it up. Whereas if you live in England and you're trying to learn the word for meat, you're less likely to see it written around. You're more likely having to, you know, search the word in the dictionary. Yeah?
Yeah, yes.
It makes sense. How about you? What do you think?
Because actually, so I don't have experience traveling abroad. This is why I asked. So, because I think I should once travel in an English native language to reach advanced level. So sometimes I think I can't reach advanced because there is no native English speakers I talk with them too much. You know, learning a language, in my opinion, if you spend in that environment that you can talk with every pupil, so you can learn it quickly. But I'm trying to reach myself in advance. I don't know. I can without being an English native speaker or not, but I'm practicing.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, practice makes perfect. So, so no, I definitely agree. You need to, I think as well, another thing is when you're actually living there in a British or an English speaking country, you're forced to use the language. So you are forced, you have to use the language to survive because that's the only language that everyone can speak. So when you're learning it from a different country, you know that if you're in an emergency, you walk outside and you just speak Persian. Whereas if you're in the UK, you are to survive, you have to speak the language. So that's another thing I found, that when I was in first moved to France, when I was struggling to, find my way around Paris, I was forced to speak French to French people. I couldn't just speak to them in English. So yeah, there is that. That does definitely help.
Oh yes, this is of course, because I experienced it in Cambly. So you're an English native speaker, so it forced me to say everything in English. So since I found Cambly, I think this is the biggest reason that why my speaking a little bit improved. Maybe I can say significantly it improved because it forced me to say everything in English. So when I studied here in courses here to teach English, so whenever I faced a problem, I was said in my native language. I mean in Persian. This is, I think, it's another benefit in Cambly because we all have to say everything in English.
Exactly. And I mean, if you get super lucky, you'll find a tutor who can speak Persian and English. But for the most part, you'll find that, most of my students are from Korea or Japan or, loads from Saudi Arabia. And if they can't say something or they can't communicate, they are forced to find the word to then tell me. Yeah. So that's the great thing about Cambly as well, is that, like you said, you are to survive and to make conversation, you have to be able to speak English.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.